It's been 20 years since Anakin Skywalker lost the high ground, broke Padmé's heart, and rage screamed his way into becoming Darth Vader. That's right, we're getting into Revenge of the Sith, the final prequel that gave us memes, mayhem, and midichlorians. Anakin still brooding, Maria still swooning, and yes, the dialogue is still painfully rudimentary.
Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Danielle, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. And this week, it's a big one. We're heading to a galaxy far, far away for Revenge of the Sith in honor of its 20th anniversary. But before we dive in, let's get into some
Escaping.
If you love the podcast and you want to support us, here's a few ways that you can. I love that we were so in sync on that one.
That was good. That's really good, guys.
I didn't scare you this week.
Nope.
I only have two voices, one of which scares Danielle every time. So if you want to support the podcast, you can buy us a cup of coffee on ko-fi. Every contribution helps us keep the Blockbuster vibes alive. Visit us at ko-fi.com/no more late fees, and we can be bought. So if there is a movie you are dying for us to do in our time frame, 95 to 2005, for $50, we will do it.
Yeah.
No shame.
Need a new lightsaber? Check out our Amazon store for curated picks inspired by Star Wars, nostalgia finds, and more. Just head to amazon.com/shop/no more late fees podcast.
And if you want more hot takes, deep dives, and behind-the-scenes fun, join our Patreon for exclusive bonus episodes and perks at patreon.com/no more late fees.
And, of course, we're joined by returning guests, Anakin apologist, and all-around icon, Maria.
Hi, guys. I'm glad to be back. Especially for this episode, redeeming factor.
I love that ChatGPT wrote your line. Oh, it says, I'm back and still not over Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, no, I should have said that.
Like it knows you.
I will be an apologist till I die. Am I wrong? Yes, but I will still defend him.
Well, if you want to learn about Maria's obsession with Anakin and just her in general, go ahead and check out her previous episodes on Bend It Like Beckham, Star Wars Episode 2, and Holes. Plus, you won't want to miss this week's bonus episode where we rank our hottest Star Wars characters.
My answers might surprise you. Just say, surprise me.
And my answers are not as wild as in previous episodes.
No.
They were quite mild.
I think your answers are always on point. They make sense to me.
That's why I love you, girl. You feed my delusion.
I do. This is why this works.
Danielle, go ahead and give us the scrolling text about what Revenge of the Sith is.
Girl, I don't know what it's about, but let me tell you what's written on this paper. No matter how many times I watch this movie, I still am like, wait a minute. It's like calculus. Revenge of the Sith is the third and final, thank you, Jesus, film in George Lucas's Star Wars prequel trilogy. It follows Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker as he descends into darkness manipulated by Chancellor Palpatine, leading to the fall of the Jedi, the rise of the Empire, and his transformation into Darth Vader Zaddy. That's what I was trying to say. The movie stars Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Ian McDermott,
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson, and it was directed and written by George Lucas.
It was definitely written. It was definitely written.
There was words on a paper
that he made everyone say.
You concur. Okay.
Yeah, he filmed and we watched 3 hours.
You can currently watch it on streaming on Disney Plus and in select theaters because it's re-released for the 20th anniversary. So if you want to, especially some of you Gen Z peeps who were too little to see it in the movie theater when it came out originally, here's your chance to go see it on the big screen and laugh like we did.
My friend Ashley posted some like a story, and it was literally that, like, I get to watch Revenge of the Sith the way that it was intended on the big screen. And I was like, Ashley, you make me feel really old because I did see it in the theaters when it was released on the big screen. So
I feel like I must have seen it. Did I see this one with you? Because
I don't think so. Did you go? I went opening night at midnight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ask me if I stayed awake for the movie. Answer's no.
Well, then who did you go? I know out of the 3, I feel like I saw one of these with you. So was it the second one?
I didn't see the second one until we had to watch
Valid.
the podcast.
Good choices. Good choices.
I remember,
Jackie made good choices.
I remember having to stand in line for very distinctly for 2 movies with you, which was Spider-Man, one of the Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was one of the Star Wars movies.
This I saw opening night with the boyfriend I had at the time.
I'm sorry, because I know who he is. Oh.
Yeah.
But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind.
So you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we'll reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best would play on repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
Throw it in the lava and watch it burn. Burn.
I hate you.
Burn.
He ain't got no legs.
Is somebody cooking chicken?
Maria, what is your Y2K rating of Revenge of the Sith?
So it's funny because I believe the Y2K version and you guys would get along very well because I didn't like Star Wars growing up. So I would probably do a same-day rental because I remember I was in high school. I was like, I think a junior in high school, and every boy was trying to get me to watch Star Wars. And they're like, you have to watch it. Like, you'll love it, blah, blah, blah. And they were telling me Anakin's story. And I remember just being like, well, he's hot. So I paid attention enough, but I think I watched it, but I didn't pay attention. I had no idea what was going on. So yeah, same day rental because I didn't like Star Wars. I thought Star Wars was stupid back then.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't agree with that person now. Disclaimer, I love Star Wars now. But yeah, at the time, I watched New Hope and Revenge of the Sith, and those are 2 crazy movies to watch by themselves.
Yes.
Because it makes no sense. So yeah.
Danielle, how about you?
Girl, I definitely, it's a same day rental because the way I amnesia'd myself into not remembering a thing about this movie. So yeah, it is, hate me if you want to. I don't know. Jackie?
There's a trend in the Force.
Like I said, I think we would all agree.
The Force cast is.
Did we just rename our rating system?
I love that.
Yeah, went to see it opening night, midnight showing. Didn't even get through the first scene, which is like an action scene. Immediately fell asleep and woke up to Padmé horribly acting like she was dying, and then like literally going like, Luke, Leia, and then the movie ends.
You missed the whole movie.
Right?
You literally, oh my God.
So this was all brand new, which is why at the theater in the dark, I took 3 pages of notes back and forth, front and back. And then as soon as I got home, Ken was out of town. So I text messaged him on the way home. Just, I have questions. And then we spent 45 minutes on the phone while I asked all my questions I wrote.
That was my experience with Attack of the Clones. So I get it.
Yeah.
Like, explain this movie to me again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Danielle, how'd the box office do?
It did well. It's It had a
It's
budget
Star
of
Wars.
100. Well, it did significantly. It was the best
It's the best
gross. It's the
prequel.
highest grossing prequel
Yeah.
out of the three. So it
Yeah.
had a budget of $113 million and it made $895.7 million. And right now, as we speak, it's racking up dough in the re-release. So I
Oh
think
my
it made
God.
like 25 million the
Wow. Yeah.
last week. Last week.
Mhm.
So it is banking money. And clearly I had an aneurysm and didn't write anything else in the facts section. I
How
got
do you really
so
feel about this movie, Danielle?
I got so overwhelmed, to be honest, about
There were
when
lots
it's a
of
movie like
facts.
this, when there's so many, like, could write a freaking novel, which I'm sure people have, about how big this movie is. So I was like, I'm done. But I did find something about what Little Raj had to say. Let me see if I could find it. Well, oh, okay. I can talk about the re-release. So, as we said, the 20th anniversary re-release just happened. It was re-released on April 25th by Disney, and you could see it screened for 4DX, and it made 25.5 million and came in number 2 after Sinners, surpassing the Minecraft movie and The Accountant 2 that was released that same week, which for a re-release of a movie that's pretty cray cray. And as for Little Raj of the Chicago Sun-Times, he gave the film 3.5 out of 4 stars, writing, if Lucas got bogged down in solemnity and theory in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, the Force is in a jollier mood this time, and Revenge of the Sith is a great entertainment. But he noted that the dialogue throughout the
Hmm.
movie is once again its weakest point.
Mm.
It got pretty good reviews considering. Even Jonathan Rosenbaum from the Chicago Reader gave it a 3 out of 4 rating and said Lucas has woven into the action and effects a relatively thoughtful story about a young man meant for greatness but corrupted by his own fear and confusion. A story more Shakespearean than Arthurian. Okay. And that's the tea, y'all.
I'm gonna be defending this movie with my life. I can.
Marian, you don't have to. It is what it is.
I was gonna say it's the lightsaber fights. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. I think that's like the more redeeming factor of that's probably
Yeah,
why it was rated higher. Was the action sequences are great.
Yeah,
right.
the opening sequence, it was fun. It had
Yeah,
comedy with R2. It had lots
yeah.
of action. Like it was
I have to say one of my favorite scenes is when Anakin's not talking at all, and I think that speaks for itself when he's just crying, and I feel like that just says so much about the movie.
Yeah, I do, the best parts are when him and Obi-Wan have
Yeah,
banter back and
this
forth
this moment
and
right here. This was
yeah.
just perfect.
So the beginning does give you hope, a glimmer,
It
if you
did.
would,
Yeah,
but I have so many questions and I can't wait.
perfect.
I might have answers because I may have
I
asked
will
them
not have
already.
answers. I'll be honest with you.
I don't know if you ask Ken these questions, but maybe.
Yeah. I just want everyone to know that I had to watch this movie like 3 times because I couldn't get past Hayden's face. That I didn't really know what was going on for a good to watch it. I didn't know that like what's his name? The bad guy was actually an alien. I thought he was a droid the whole time.
I did too. I was like, why this man got fucking asthma when he's parts and shit? When
It took me on my
Obi-Wan
third watch to be like, wait, he's an alien.
when Obi-Wan opened his chest and there was a heart, I said, wait a minute.
How did
I
I
thought
miss
he
that the
needed
first two
some.
watches?
I said somebody need to give him some motor oil. What is he coughing about?
Why did he look so much like a droid? Why did they make him
Right.
that way?
I had that question. Let me find what I wrote down.
Asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Like
He
if he
looked
wasn't,
like
if he was supposed to be like an alien, why didn't he look like the rest of the aliens? I'm so confused.
Well, yeah. Oh, is Grievous a robot or is he like Vader?
Before we get into cast and crew, let's hear a message from our pod pals.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Groves.
And my name's Rob McFarlane.
And together we are the Every Movie Ever podcast.
We've always found refuge in movies. We love them all, from sci-fi, horror,
to Oscar-winning drama, and so bad they're good B-movies.
Each of us has had major mental struggles.
I'm sober.
I should be.
Trauma.
Mental breakdowns.
And to make sure that we checked in with our best mate at least once a week, we started the Every Movie Ever podcast.
Join us as we survey the worst movies in the world.
And the cinematic gems that you may have missed.
So, whether you're a fan of Batman or Billboards,
Godzilla or God-level writing,
we've got episodes done.
And hundreds to come.
Nick Frost says we can't do every movie ever.
But we'll show him some fried f***ing gold.
Find us on Spotify.
Or Apple Podcasts.
Or anywhere else.
Click the link in our bio to find us. Consume!
Did that sound good?
Let's try it.
Hey, this is Danny Trejo.
Hi, my name is Ken.
Dave Sheridan.
The Every Movie Ever podcast.
Also, I do want to thank you guys. Besides, like, that was a question, but then as soon as those droids came up, the first scene with the droids, I laughed out loud. The audience was like, what the fuck's going on? Because I was just like, droids, not clones.
I had the same thought. Like, okay, so
I remember this now.
The stormtrooper comes up, and I'm like, he looks familiar. And then I literally had to mentally process, oh, because it's a clone of Boba Fett. Because the stormtroopers are the clones, not the robots.
I had to do that too. I was like, oh, he was playing multiple roles in this series. Did nobody notice that he was Boba? I was like, Boba Fett's here? It's like my brain memory wiped everything.
Because for 20 years, we thought the robots were the clones.
Also, the title "Attack of the Clones" is misleading.
Yes,
Why
because they only show you the robots.
The Attack of the Clones is what this episode is called.
Yes,
because they switch.
There's like this TikTok, I'm sure, of like how the Star Wars movies aren't named correctly, and I think that's part of the reason why the prequels are so confusing is because the titles are really confusing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to see that Topher Grace cut. I'm just saying. I need to see it. And release the tapes, Topher. I need one movie.
That should have been our game is rename all of the episodes.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
I saw a video that really actually hit me to the core that said that Anakin literally was a slave his whole life until he helps his son at the end. Yeah. And that is so true. He was owned by different people, even the Jedi, like at some, like not in that same way per se, but
his
like
life was never his own.
Yeah. Right. Not having any autonomy his whole life. Just think about that. Like, I look at the Jedis, it clicked for me the most in this movie that it's definitely from a viewpoint of Buddhism, I think. And at least, you know, if you become a monk, it's a choice. But for him, he was so young. It's just like he just went from one owner to the next each time. Yeah.
And there's obviously like a lot of like, I would say like, obviously I'm a simp for Anakin, but I also just like really love the character of Anakin. This is the reason I love, like, you know, defending him. It's just like, because he's like a great fallen angel trope. But his history makes so much sense. Like, there's so many like studies about like the mental disorders that he probably has. Like, there's like bipolar or borderline personality disorder, and how Palpatine preyed on that essentially. Like, he preyed on the fact that he lost his mother, that he has no family. And this is why like Anakin's so crazy about Padmé, because like he just like anyone he connects to, he just clings onto him because that's all he has. So like it's not even that like the Jedi were another thing he was just clinging to because he had no one. Right, so it's just him being taken advantage of over and over again, which is unfortunately so like human.
And the whole catalyst for him turning to the dark side was he has lost everyone in his life, and so he did not want to lose Padmé, which made him make questionable choices.
He made his biggest fear come true.
Yes,
exactly.
I also think
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Prophecy, yeah. It is a tragedy. Like, it's so funny because we're laughing, but like Revenge of the Sith was technically really sad. Like,
all of it is really like when you really think about it, like we're in war, you've got a groomer going after this kid. I don't care what you say, you can't tell me no different about that.
No,
She
because
still
he's like
called
what, 19 in this or something? Like he's young, right? 21 maybe at the most. I think he's very young in this.
I think it makes it worse that she still calls him Annie, so that gives it that creepy vibe even more.
Yeah.
But on top of that, like I think one of the issues that Anakin has of not healing is because of the views of the Jedi, which is similar to Buddhism, where, from my understanding, if I'm wrong, please tell me, listeners, that you're not supposed to have any attachments to the material world. And so after losing his mom, like the way that they look at death is so different, but for someone who's essentially still a child or has child mentality because he has so many deep wounds, mother wounds, all that, he needed some affection and love. And I think Obi-Wan very much just treats him the way that he was trained, not knowing that he's from a different like he needed more than what he was given.
I also feel like I think like whenever, because I've mentioned this before too, that I watched Star Wars older, so I had a lot of preconceived notions. So I remember thinking the Jedi were like these like unbiased Buddhists, like, you know, space wizards. But like I really found them very militant in this too. And I feel like the one thing I will say about the prequels is that they really do offer a great criticism of the Jedi, I feel. Because like essentially they're just glorified bodyguards of like political parties, right?
Yeah.
They're like, and they're warriors and soldiers for like Clone Wars. So I feel like, yes, they're essentially Buddhist mentality, but they're kind of warped at this point, and they're very like almost militant of their thoughts of like no attachment. And I feel like I think that my biggest like hot take is that Anakin did bring balance to the Force, because it was imbalanced and like there had to be a dark and light side. So I that's the other like side plot. I think the story actually talks about how like the Jedi weren't also perfect either, and like
You're
a lot of the accessory projects of Star Wars talks about it, but like Revenge of the Sith really kind of like tries to, I don't know, in the movie that they made with the dialogue that they were given, they tried to essentially bring out like, oh, the Jedi weren't perfect either.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because I think in the sequels, from my understanding, because even that one, my brain doesn't remember much.
That's the ones,
But I do believe that's like the whole thing with Ren, is that she realizes that
with Luke,
the whole point is not good versus bad, because everyone has light and dark. It's being able to balance the both of them. And when you were saying how the Jedi in these movies were very militant, even Yoda, like it's very much like we don't even learn, or I think you can't just say dark side bad, don't go over there. I think they should know what things were happening on that side. Same with like even Harry Potter, when you talk about Voldemort and how he started to go into the dark arts. I always think it's really good to teach the kids how they taught the kids the things in dark arts and why they were bad. Like it makes people less curious to go dabble in that shit and get maybe pulled into that shit if they have actual education about it. So that's what happened to Anakin. He didn't feel safe to talk and ask questions,
and he was like silenced essentially.
And he was vulnerable because he felt like he had no option.
Like he did go to Yoda first, and Yoda was like, nah, get over it, essentially.
Yoda is another Dumbledore kind of situation, because he knew most likely Anakin was going to turn to the dark side. He knew that. And didn't. So it's like, here's the thing, is everything set in stone, or could he have worked to try to help him so he would have still made balance to the universe, but in a different way? Like, it almost feels like Yoda just was like, okay, well, this is probably the path, and I'm just gonna let it roll. Because how you don't do nothing? How you're not asking more questions about who in your life, if we have no attachments, who do you love that you're thinking about dying? Because you would have said it was Obi-Wan. So you knew Yoda knew that bitch was pregnant.
Well, so everyone
did.
when I asked all my questions to Ken, he like explained it. He's like, Jedi is just like a religion, and like they use the Force for good, and they have like these rules that they follow to make sure that they're using it for what they perceive as good. And he's like, and the Sith is just like another religion, but they don't really work together. They're like independent and using the Force for whatever they want, but they learn how to tap into like that opposite side of the Force. And he's like, but Qui-Gon was in the middle. Like Qui-Gon learned both sides, so he wasn't considered a Jedi, and he knew about the dark side and like elements of that, and then he also knew the Jedi side. And he's like, that's why Qui-Gon was able to become a Force ghost, was because he could tap into both of those sides. And then eventually, as a Force ghost, he passed that knowledge down to
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I think if he had lived, he would have been way more helpful for Anakin.
Yeah, because essentially Qui-Gon was supposed to be his actual master, and then Obi-Wan was like forced into it. And like they have a great relationship now, but it's definitely very apparent that like Obi-Wan sees him more of as a duty than like a choice, whereas Qui-Gon chose, because like Anakin wasn't supposed to be in the Jedi, right? Because he was too old, and like Yoda saw darkness in him, I believe that's what he said, or like I don't remember the word, but they didn't want Anakin. But like Qui-Gon was like, no, I will take care of him. He will be my responsibility. But then he died. So like now Obi-Wan had to do it. So
and every time Obi-Wan says we were brothers, I'm like, I don't believe you.
Right.
Valid, yeah.
Like,
I feel like Obi-Wan learned to love Annie, but then he had to learn to love him.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
No. And that's why Anakin probably was like so attached to Padmé more than Obi-Wan, because like he probably felt the Force that like Obi-Wan, resisted.
Yeah.
I wish we knew more about her.
Yeah.
To understand how she got to this place, why she was attracted to this kid.
I will say that like that doesn't seem in character for her at all.
No.
And it's my problem with my biggest thing with Revenge of the Sith is like who we see Padmé as in Attack of the Clones is so different from who she is in Revenge of the Sith. It's almost as if they like watered her down and almost like, because they're trying to fridge her character essentially, right? So they have to water her down to be like, oh, she's a motherless child and then she dies. And like that's it. We just see her crying all the time. And being so I compare to like the Attack of the Clones where she's literally a senator doing everything. Right. So it's very different. There's no like the continuity of her character definitely is not consistent. Like it declines.
I feel like in the dialogue they're constantly talking about how love has blinded her. Love has blinded her. She's so blind by this love, and it's like almost for him to say this why she's gonna do stupid shit. Because in the second movie he's already showing signs that he's a podcast bruh. Talking about dictatorship is cool. Yeah.
He is seeped into fascism. He is preaching it.
But I will say everyone says that Anakin is emo, whatever, but the way his character is reminds me of so many people in like Gen Z age range with some of the like boys, young men, and how there is, I think, a lack of emotional intelligence. Regulation. That's better. Yes. Emotional regulation. And I think it's like a really big problem, but that is something that I see in some of the people that are younger, like how they're talking about things is just in such absolutes, which is very scary.
I will say that too, that's the other thing I've noticed too with this re-release is that a lot of people have gravitated towards Anakin's character now because so many young men now see. Before Anakin was loved because he's just like such a well-written character in like media, but like now it's because they see themselves in Anakin, and I'm like, now that's concerning. Now it's worrisome because everyone's like, oh, Anakin did nothing wrong, and it's like, no, he did everything wrong, and that's why he's such a good character, because he was the chosen one that kept making mistakes and did everything wrong. And like that's what makes him so like tragic and what's the word? Shakespearean
Yeah.
rather than Arthurian, you know? He's not a knight. He's definitely the villain the whole time.
I'm afraid that people watch these 3 movies and then turn the TV off. No, you gotta watch this all the way through to see what happens.
Well, it's the whole idea of like Star Wars not being political. It's like, no, it's death. Like political. The curtains are definitely not just blue here.
Oh, we have a lot of cast and crew, but like we didn't have a lot of new people in this movie. But there are some like fun anecdotes of things that happen with the cast.
Tell me why Natalie Portman considers this movie her favorite of the 3 she was in. Was it the fifth?
The better one. I'm sorry.
I think for her character, she was better in the second one because she was still like a badass.
Yeah.
This one, she had looks and she's pregnant and cries a lot.
I think maybe it's the better movie. It's not better for her by any means. Yeah, I would say the first and second one are so much better for her. First one's really good for her too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
So this fact makes me laugh because when I was watching it, I was like, why are they so concentrated on these background people in this scene? So the king goes to the Senate in this scene and I don't know who he's talking to. I don't remember. But you can see like a alien character and a blue-faced alien that's an attendant. Oh no, it's not. It's the opera scene, not the Senate scene. And it's George Lucas. He has a cameo and he's in blueface. And I didn't recognize, but I did recognize that they were trying to tell me that this person was important. And I was like, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Please turn this off.
That's too damn bad.
And along with George Lucas, his son Jet portrays Zet Jugasa, a young Jedi in training, and one of his daughters, Amanda, appears as Ter Tennille, who is seen in a security hologram. And then her daughter Katie plays a blue-skinned Pantorian named Chi Ikwe, visible when Palpatine arrives at the Senate.
Wow.
Family affair.
So I don't know what I'm about to say, what's real, but I'm going to tell you what I know. And what I know is that apparently in 2004, Gary Oldman was originally approached to provide the voice of General Grievous. However, complications arose with contract negotiations, especially once he realized that that this wasn't a Screen Actors Guild supported movie, or that they weren't using the SGA, I guess. So he's a member and he was like, I don't want to violate the union's rules. Fast forward, apparently Matthew Wood, who did voice Grievous, disputed this story at Celebration 3. I don't know what that is, but if you're a Star Wars person, I'm sure you do. According to him, Ullman is a friend of producer Rick McCallum and recorded an audition as a favor to him, but was not chosen, which is boo-boo caca, because how do you not choose Gary Oldman for anything? But okay, Wood, who was also the supervising sound editor, was in charge of the auditions. How are you in charge of the auditions and he has submitted himself anonymously and in the midst of 30 others under AS. And days later, he received a phone call asking for the full name to the initials and he got hired. So, yeah, I don't know. Sounds really weird.
Yeah, it's like a lot of like wrenches in the story.
I don't know if he's just trying to say, nah, this was always my role, but sir. It's Gary Oldman.
Did he say that like out loud?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know.
So Ewan McGregor had Lucasfilms make him a looped reel of all of Sir Alec Guinness's scenes from the original trilogy so that he could study them and perfect both the accent and the pacing of his words belonging to Sir Alec Guinness.
Yeah. I would say Ewan did a great job of what he was doing.
He just has like a lot of one-liners. I feel like he's in a movie by himself. Did anyone else feel like he's
That's
just
like
doing
always his story? Like even Attack of the Clones, where he's out in the rain.
Yeah, he's just by himself. He's
Like,
side questing it up.
just so much
I feel
stuff happening
Yeah.
that makes no sense.
But like the hello there is cute. It's a very good nod. It's just like
It was weird. And also, I don't know, Mari, you tell me this, but why did Ewan McGregor's hair look clean, nice? And Anakin, what's happening here?
The hair got worse and worse. It was
I feel like that's
terrible.
like a symbolism of the Sith, right? Like
That
I
your
actually have this.
hair is oily and gross?
Well, no, so I actually do have this theory that like the idea is that like the Sith like eats at you, so like your looks continue to deteriorate as you like become more evil. Like I've kind of noticed this like with all the Sith characters, is that like essentially it's supposed to like eat you up inside, like what you're doing with your like killing and stuff. So I think there
Manny
was a
didn't look
symbolism of like him getting worse, like he was getting uglier because he's turning to the dark side. That was like the metaphor I got.
So what happened to Manny?
I don't know, man. So I had this theory. I made a TikTok about this too. That like I believe the Sith brings attractive people, and then only to like make them ugly. So like Kymir's not technically a Sith yet. Like so he's just like he's like the poster boy for the dark side. So like maybe that's why he's so hot.
His hair seemed like it had some greasiness to it, but it didn't look bad.
It's
I
also
don't know.
Manny Jacinto. Like I think they couldn't make him ugly even if they tried.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't look ugly. It's giving what's your boy Jackie from
Eric Von Detten.
Because I feel like I need to go back and look in the credits and see if there was somebody on set who was hired to just pour baby oil in this man's hair.
Well, and he kept getting more like shaggy mullety, and I'm like, what?
But like it was definitely like it's like right here, like it's coinciding with him going like with the like eyes yellowing and stuff like that. So that's what I got. Because in the beginning it's so fluffy.
But I also feel like this movie doesn't take place over that long a span of time for him to grow this gross mullet.
The Sith works fast, man.
It's the midichlorians.
I have another hair and makeup question. As a black woman, when I go to bed, I got to put a scarf or a bonnet on. Fine. I understand not always the case for white women. But Padmé, where you go with this high ponytail and curls,
and
full
pearls.
makeup and like
that's her night suit. That picture behind you is her night suit. Just saying.
Like you don't wake up with like pearl indents on your arm? Like what happens if you accidentally lay on it?
That dress would be like halfway across. Like it's just like it wouldn't even be on sale.
One boob out because that's what happens in the night.
I wake up so many times with my pajamas that are short sleeve where a boob is out, and I'm like, well, had a good time last night. But when he was like tossing and turning and got up and she turned to look, I said, this bitch got a beat face, not a roll in her head.
You can see the blush through that picture. I can feel the blush.
Well, and he looks comfy cozy in his little like kimono situation he's wearing. And she has to lay on pearls and jewels. It's a high pony.
Apparently, George Lucas told Hayden Christensen to go beef it up for this. Oh
yeah, he gained like 11 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw that work was done. He got a little chest going on. Okay.
He looked great. He looked great in this movie. This is peak Hayden Christensen. You cannot deny the fact that he's not a good looking man. I'll say I do have it bad for this man, like to the point that I watched Little Italy multiple times. Like that, because his movie career besides Star Wars is abysmal. Like he does nothing good. So like the little that he has. Yeah.
The hottest he looked is where he was playing the teenage son to
Oh yeah,
Kevin
that.
Kline, where
Oh,
he's got like
yeah,
piercings and black hair. I can't
yeah.
remember what it's called.
That's like one of his big first roles too. So
Yeah.
I think he would do so much better if he leaned into being a villain. Like I don't know why he keeps trying to be like like I don't know, do like these rom-coms. Like I think he needs to pull a Josh Hartnett and just be a bad guy.
Was he in what other rom-coms was he
Like
in?
Little Italy.
That's it.
That's all I can do. Like he's I don't know, he's like in that one movie with Paul Walker,
Oh,
like in like where there's a bunch of guys
oh,
and they do
Takers.
takers. Yeah, like
Takers.
it's like yeah. So
Well,
I'm just like
that
he
one
just
was like a heist movie, and he looked
yeah,
pretty good in that one, I will
yeah. He
say.
barely was in it, but like you know what I mean? Like he just like I don't know, he always just like tries to play like these roles where he's just a good looking guy, which is fine. I feel like he just should be a villain. Like he just leaned into it.
Well, he's coming
I thought
back
about
as
Spirit too much,
Anakin,
obviously.
so well, I mean, we've been all over the place, Jackie.
Yeah,
I
I was
don't
like,
know.
how do we want to proceed? Do we want to actually talk about what happens in the movie, or do we just want to go on vibes?
Do we know what happens in the movie?
I don't think we know. I think vibes are cool because I couldn't track not a damn thing. My favorite character in this whole movie was R2D2. R2D2. Jesus.
R2D2 is great. He's so
such
cute.
a comedic actor and so
Timing.
funny.
The
Dare
beginning
I say
scene with
the
them
best
is adorable.
acting in this movie?
You don't lie because it
No,
was
100%. The best lines. The best line delivery.
Because what Anakin was giving at the beginning was, "Yes, master." I'm like, well, this is what we're doing in the middle of a fight? Yes, master.
Oh, and like Palpatine unhinged. Leave him. What do you mean? Like the fact that Anakin couldn't really see through that right away was crazy.
I think the best part is I think where the movie like falls apart is like Palpatine is the bad guy, but no one really recognizes it.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, okay, so we are to believe they're looking for Darth Sidious out in the
Who's
universe.
right in front of them.
Yeah, and he just puts on a cape where you can still see his very recognizable chin, the most recognizable chin in the entire Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, we wonder who Darth Sidious is.
Like my thing too is like Yoda is like this wise being who like knows everything, but he couldn't pick up Darth Sidious. Like,
well, that was my question. I'm like, how did the Jedis not know Padmé's pregnant? Can't they sense it? Can't they sense the Force? Especially because Leia and Luke both have the Force. So wouldn't they sense new Force?
Yeah, there's a lot of plot holes.
I think Yoda feels it towards the end because there's a moment where he's quiet and it just clicks. I think it's when they say there's twins and he's like, oh, yep, there it is.
Oh, now I know where it came from.
Yeah. I think they all knew she was pregnant. I do think they knew she was pregnant because there was a time where Anakin came home and he was like almost like a dog that could sniff that Obi-Wan was there. That was super weird. Yeah. He's like, Obi-Wan was here. And she's like, and he's just like, yeah, he was. Like not picking up the hints that your boy crazy.
Yeah. No,
abusive.
That's another plot hole is like her just being in disbelief that Anakin would turn too. Like there's a lot of plot holes. I mean, at least like Obi-Wan did know, but he was trying to protect Anakin and Padmé, and that's why he doesn't say anything. Because there's no way Obi-Wan doesn't know.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
She was very much, I can fix him. No, really, I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, like, nobody's questioning about, first of all, how do Jedis get paid and where do they live? Because I'm trying to figure out what that paper looking like. Because she's pregnant, she can't be having her job. Who's paying these bills?
I feel like she has a good severance package. Maybe.
Also, where does Anakin live? If this is supposed to be secret, which let me tell you, worst secret keepers I've ever seen. He walks straight up to the Senate not even behind the pillar. They just start making out and snuggling, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do that here. Why not? Y'all have already done it."
Yeah.
What are we talking about? So again, where is Anakin supposed to be living? In the Jedi dorms? Like, what's happening? And
Yeah,
nobody notices he don't sleep there?
Yeah,
They're not very observant.
These are the real questions that, like, these nerd boys aren't asking. These are the questions I need to know. Do you have a 401k package as a Jedi? Like, what is this?
He's not even a full, like, he's still a Padawan, technically,
Yeah.
so no. He's still technically, like an apprentice this whole time.
But
That's what gets me to him. Like, he's not even on the council yet.
But I also had a question about that because Ahsoka is his apprentice. So I'm like, where is Ahsoka this whole time? Like,
Oh, she's gone. She leaves.
But I'm like, so Obi-Wan is still training Anakin, but Anakin also has an apprentice? Like, I'm like, it makes no sense.
That is true. They do show a scene, I guess they put it in later, that she's at the funeral because she's talking about she was friends with Padmé. And I was
of course, duh.
Okay.
Doesn't visit her once when she's pregnant, but sure.
Right. So she's at the funeral and she leaves, and Jimmy Smith's, because I don't know what his character's name is, and I'm not even looking it up.
Organa.
Like oregano?
Yeah, Senator Organa. That's why. That's why.
Organa, like Leia Organa.
Yeah, Leia Organa.
Got it.
Sorry, I'm just saying it very white.
Like oregano.
Oregano. Yes.
Well, he sees. What's the girl's name?
Ahsoka?
Ahsoka. He sees Ahsoka in the crowd, and then he follows her to some place. And he's like, if you need anything, he gives her like a transmitter. If you ever need anything, call me or whatever. And then then they hear the clones coming up, the stormtroopers. So she jumps in, runs away. So I saw that scene today.
Okay. Was that like a deleted scene?
Yeah. Well, I think it must have been added to the show or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because like Clone Wars technically continues it.
Yeah.
I don't know which came first. Did the animated show come after Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I feel like they added after.
They had to on a lot of stuff to make it make sense, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was talking about the live action with Rosario Dawson. That was the scene I saw.
Oh, okay.
And that's Jimmy Smith.
I forgot that was in this too. Yeah. Oh gosh, I forgot about that show.
Yeah. So, yeah, questions all around.
Well, the whole time I kept thinking Bucky Barnes did the metal hand thing better.
Which part?
Like Anakin had a metal hand the whole time.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
You just mean in general.
Yeah.
I thought.
No, I was like, George Lucas read some comic books and was like, that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
All right, I might get a little dirty, but I'm wondering if Anakin had a setting on one of his fingers to help spice
there's a
things up.
meme. There's a meme about that.
Oh, know.
Yeah. There's that scene where he's choking Padme?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a meme.
Oh my God.
But my favorite part is that Obi-Wan is watching it the whole time.
Yeah. Obi-Wan's lack of concern. Like, first of all, he's out. Okay, let's talk about this scene. He is out there yelling at this girl, talking fucking crazy, jealous as all hell, and then chokes her. But, like, I feel like he could have helped stop him from choking her. And he also, like, she's dropped to the floor. This bitch is pregnant. It takes him so long to walk over to check on her. He does not check her pulse. He slowly glides his hand across her cheek or to feel it as if, oh, she good. What is that? You can't tell if she's breathing or
it's
nothing.
A Jedi Force, of course.
Oh my God. I was like, this poor girl has been.
Yeah. No.
But she did it to herself. Not that I think the abuse is, but like you groomed a child who's fucking crazy. The signs were all there.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yeah, the signs were very, very, very much there.
Yeah. That scene was crazy. But when Obi-Wan shows up is hilarious. Like he just shows up in the door frame, like, what's up, lover? Like it's wild.
Especially because he's been on a side quest this whole time.
Yeah, he's just like, doo-doo.
I'm back.
I also
saw a video of you killing people. What's up?
And it was also crazy that he literally watched Anakin just burn the fuck up.
Meanwhile, he's attacking Grievous because thinking like that is the threat. Like my favorite thing is like he's always on the side quest of like, hey guys, I defeated the villain. JK, that was just to distract you every time.
Let's talk about that fight with Grievous, because he chose the fucking noisiest mode of transportation to hunt down Grievous.
Right.
He's not supposed to be there, and he's on a fucking dragon that's like, "Arr!"
I was like, why is it making these noises? It was crazy. I think George just...
I didn't even think about it that way.
He's like, let me just put a fun animal in here every
was
time.
Like, oh, look. I literally was like, that's a really cool animal that he's on. That's all. I'm clearly the target demographic because I didn't think about that.
They're not supposed to know that he's there, yet he has a dragon sounding the alarm.
Like, jumps out.
Yeah.
And, like, it tells the aliens, don't worry, I got you. Like, he announces his arrival. So.
I don't have faith until like the end that Obi-Wan actually has skills at fighting. I know that sounds horrible, but 10 times Anakin's got to save your ass.
Yeah.
10?
To be fair, they don't show Obi-Wan in a good light. I think like the prequels are heavily relied on by the other projects that like, oh, Obi-Wan's legit. Like,
yeah.
I have to ask Ken. I was like, okay, what are the ship hula hoops for? Because Obi-Wan like drives his little ship into a hula hoop and then shows up at another planet. He's like, oh, that's how they like get into like warp speed. I was like, okay, so you have to drag this hula hoop with you everywhere you go just in case you need to like warp to another planet. And I was like, okay, sure.
I liked Padmé's ship. When it came on the screen, I said, ooh, shiny. I literally said it out loud.
It looks like the Milano from Guardians. I'm like, that is the Milano without coloring.
It was very pretty. I also like his ship, Obi-Wan's, that he pulls up to Padmé's house.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like the little docking station. That was really cute.
Yeah.
They have a nice place. It's very legit that you ask how much he makes. It's like, their place looks nice.
Yeah, but that's Padmé's money. I know it. That's
100%. He makes no money. He is literally still a Padawan. Like,
also, when she tells him she's pregnant, that was hilarious. I laughed out loud because he could not even pretend to be happy right away. He was like, you could see the oh fuck in his face.
Yeah.
And she was just like,
he does his best acting when he's not talking.
And she doesn't even seem to clock it. Like, you could tell she's completely in her Delulu era.
Yeah.
Because she just, like, does not even say anything that he was super quiet and freaking the fuck out about it.
Yeah.
And it also, like, the other concerning thing is that he's so terrified she's going to die, but he doesn't seem to care two shits about the kids. And he knows those kids are alive.
Yeah.
Later on, he feels the force with them. He says it in the other movies. So he knows they're alive. He does not try to get his children. He don't give a damn about nobody but Padmé, which is weird.
Which is, yeah. It really speaks to, like, the incel character of him, you know, unfortunately. Because, like, it's just, like, so immature, like maldeveloped Anakin to be like, yeah, he only cares about the person standing in front of him, like, not like the grand scheme of things. And it makes so much sense that he got manipulated because, like, look at him. He's a disaster.
Oh, Man.
The boy has many red flags, I'm telling you. Like, defending him is crazy because, like, he literally is so undefendable.
The fact that, like, I feel like he could have easily told Palpatine that he didn't want to be on the council or be involved, but that does show that he has this level of wanting to be higher up. He, you know, wants to be on the council, and the way that the council, especially Samuel Jackson, the way they play him to the left is so hilarious, and he gets so pissed off. I cracked up at the scene where Samuel Jackson was like, "Have a seat."
Yeah, that's why I mean, like, he's not making money. Like, he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
He's not a Jedi. He's not on the council. He's nothing.
And I'm like, how does Palpatine have the power to just appoint someone to the Jedi Council? Like, he's just in charge of the Senate. They should be separate.
They should be separate, but it
they're
has
unfortunately, this is like where the flaw. This is where like the criticism of the Jedi comes in. Like, why are they so heavily invested in politics, essentially? You know, when they're supposed to be a religion. Like, politics and religion, we know those don't mix well, like, historically speaking.
It said that Chancellor Palpatine's strategy for maintaining power is known to political scientists as perpetual war. He comes to power through conflict with the Trade Federation, gains greater privileges through the Clone War, and solidifies his position through war on the Jedi. So he is purposely starting all these fires and fueling all this stuff so that he's convincing the Senate, the people, everybody, that he is the person that could save everything. And, like, you know, like, he is a trusted politician.
Which
and
it's essentially what he does with Anakin.
Right. And then as for the Jedis, because the Jedis don't just live and do their own thing. Now they're so attached to the government, essentially, at this point, that they're looking at it from the framework of how it looks like from the external. I believe my friend was telling me while we were watching the movie that the scene where Yoda and Palpatine are fighting initially was supposed to be live streamed to the entire galaxy to watch, and it looks like Palpatine frames it almost as if Yoda is like starting shit, like the Jedis are starting a problem. So I think that's why they don't fight him putting Anakin on the thing, because they know he's up to no good, but they have to play it strategically. That's my thought process.
And like just like going off like the themes of the movie, like we see in like the original like trilogy that like these stormtroopers are bad. These are the bad guys, right? And then we see in an Attack of Clones, like these are, you know, positioned as like they're supposed to be, the Jedi are supposed to fight them, but then we see in Revenge of the Sith, like when Order 66 is being committed, we see all the Jedi with the stormtroopers, with these clones, with the people we know that are eventually going to turn on them. So it's almost as if like their fight, they really work with their enemy and like their demise, and it just shows that like how corrupted the Jedi really were, like how manipulated the Jedi got because like of initial corruption in the first place. So I really feel like it was not the Jedi's fault, but I almost feel like it also just shows like how the complete Jedi got manipulated by the tactics too, not just Anakin.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Which it's great to see, because we could definitely take out different names and put the situation that we're in now. I think a lot of people have good intentions, but sometimes those good intentions take you down a bad path if you're
and you don't realize
until
it's too late that you've been working with your enemy this whole time.
Right. And okay, Jackie, explain to me what the Separatists wanted in the first place, because that might be a clue to maybe they weren't completely wrong.
That was just like a red herring.
I know, but they were a problem still, because they thought they too, like, it wasn't just the Jedi. The Separatists were manipulated because they thought they had the same agenda as Palpatine, essentially. And he just used them. He did not want to help them. And I don't know what their goal was in the first place. I don't know if it was like they didn't want to
break off power, right? Essentially.
Yes. They didn't want all this concentrated power. They wanted to have more autonomy to do what they wanted to do.
And that's why, like, Padmé, when she was talking about it, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. She was like, oh, that's separatist talk when Anakin goes, applies. Yeah.
But she starts to realize that maybe they're not wrong, essentially.
Yeah.
I could look at it as also like how unions, for a while, the right, I don't even know if it was the right, but like the opposition corporations, maybe that's what I'll say. The corporations were really doing a lot of propaganda and PR to make it seem like unions were a bad thing. And now we could look at it and say, oh, this shit was not wrong. It was protection for these corporations not to get too big and so people can have more power than, you know, these big conglomerates. So, yeah. I don't know if the separatists were, I'm not saying they were good. I don't know what did you find out what they were about, Jackie?
It says the Confederacy of Independent Systems. This is from StarWars.com, so it's legit.
Reliable source.
The Confederacy of Independent Systems, also known as the Separatist Alliance, was a collection of star systems and corporate titans that left the Republic and fought for independence against the Republic's clone armies and Jedi Knights. The charismatic former Jedi Count Dooku was the Alliance's political leader, while its military power came from the credits and assets donated by powerful galactic trade groups. No one suspected that the Alliance was actually a tool of Darth Sidious, who had engineered the Clone Wars as part of a Sith plot to rule the galaxy.
Yeah, so we don't really know if they were great or not. I mean, if we take anything from Phantom Menace, I believe that some of the trade people were owning slaves, and, you know, that's not cool.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. But yeah.
I also remember there was like a droid war, right? Wasn't that also the same? Like, this is where they kind of confuse me, because I'm like the separatists and then there's the droids that they have like this war with. So I'm like, that was not the same thing technically, right? So like, there's
I
this
thought
ongoing...
the droids were with the separatists.
I don't see, this is the part that could be. I thought Grievous was a droid, and when he's not a droid, so I'm like, so who are the droids?
But the droids were on his ship fighting Anakin, and
yeah, but like, are the droids the threat? Like, isn't it the droid war too? Like the Clone War?
I don't know if there was a droid war. Lord,
I think they were fighting the droids at one point. That's
during the Clone Wars, droids, specifically the Separatist droid army, fought for the Confederacy of Independent Systems, also known as the Separatists. They were the primary ground troops for the CIS, acting as the opposing force to the Republic's clone troopers.
I feel like he just made. I feel like because like you were saying that like he just like kept. He rose power through war. I feel like he just made up this fight.
Yeah.
No, it seems like
They're like, we need an army.
Yeah, and then that's why the Clone Wars happened.
Yeah.
Just an army. Yeah. People rising in power because of war. Never heard of that.
Well, it's kind of like with Iron Man, where he gets so paranoid and feels like he needs to build this army, essentially. And same with that Jedi who went and made the clones, like foreseeing this stuff happening, but then that shit gets turned back on him.
Yep.
You know, so it's good intentions yet again. I don't know if I made that parallel right, but it is what that's what I thought of in my head.
I feel like it's definitely like a fable of like, watch out when this happens in real life. Will people get it? Who knows? Because it wasn't a clear message, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, we're so confused by it because I'm like, I think that's what they're trying to say, but they never made it clear enough. And I think that's like the biggest problem with the prequels is like nothing's clear. I almost feel like he had to hold our hands and explain things better, even though he did explain things a lot.
I also think that the problem is that politics can be very confusing. Not confusing, but there's a lot of moving parts. And that can make it confusing. Where as we consume media, especially as Americans, it's always just like good guy, bad guy. But that's not always the case. There is, you know, gray area that you have to use your noggin to kind of decipher what is the best situation. So I think that's why it feels that way.
And I feel like George Lucas, nothing against him, obviously he developed a great world. I think he just got so caught up in the lightsabers and creating that world and the hula hoops for like, lightning speed.
Yeah.
Like these like, dragon winged creatures that like, I don't think he was focused on the right. I feel like he was focused on other things essentially, which is fine.
No, I just think he was trying. The problem is, and this happens too, especially like when you're neurodivergent, so much is in your head. I think one of the first really big things that I learned working in my professional career was that I had to stop holding everything up here and start like pulling it out. And then when I transitioned to being in leadership positions, I then had to stop trying to do everything by myself. You're only as good as your team, you're only as good as your leadership. And I think he was trying to, he had a vision, and I know what that's like. You have a vision, you know it inside and out, and you have to take the time to bring people in to help you with that vision. And I think he did bring in really good people. I mean, obviously, the effects that we have now today, we can thank him for that. But I think after the first movie, he should have learned, okay, the writing may not be my thing, and I might need to bring more people in to like take this over, to give life to this vision that I have, and trust that other people can do it. And he just, there's a thing in here. He said that he allowed his friend Steven Spielberg to help design some sequences during pre-production, partly because Spielberg was getting ready to do War of the Worlds, and he wanted to use the pre-visualization techniques pioneered by Industrial Light and Magic so that he could be ready for this movie. And also because Lucas felt that his roles as writer, director, executive producer, and financier were taking up too much of his time, and he needed another director to bounce ideas off of. Spielberg's main contribution was a climactic lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Which is one of the best scenes.
Right. Which I'm like, Steven, you didn't have no other notes? None? Because I could say I've never seen a Steven Spielberg movie that is lacking from a story script standpoint.
Yeah.
So
maybe
why
he
you
did
couldn't
have
help
notes
your
and
boy?
and he just couldn't receive it,
Yes, I'm looking at my notes. So, we have the Palpatine Mace Windu fight with lightning fingers, where he's just the acting. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, sir, you have been like because he was old when he shot this. Like, you've probably had a very lucrative career. This is the best we got, is like, oh no, help me. Like,
Anakin, help me!
As my head becomes a butt because of lightning fingers bouncing back at me. Like, I'm just like, what?
I've never seen anyone raisin so fast in my life.
That scene is hilarious.
It's so fucking funny.
It's unhinged. It's crazy. I was like, what is happening? And Anakin is fucking sitting down. Like, what?
Like, so that's like the other thing too. Like, there's so many scenes where they're just like walking in silence.
Or walking and monologuing in circles. What is with the monologue circles?
They got it from Pride and Prejudice. For sure.
But I did ask Ken, I was like, why does Palpatine need Anakin? Like, because obviously he had the power of the dark side. Like, he could do whatever he wanted to at any time. Like, there was really, I felt like there was no purpose. It wasn't like, other than like this prophecy that Anakin was the chosen one. Other than that, like, there was no need for Palpatine to manipulate Anakin.
Well, yeah, it's the prophecy. I mean, Voldemort went crazy on Harry Potter for a prophecy.
Yeah, I think a Sith needs an apprentice too. I think like there has to be two of them too. But like, again, you have a good point that like this is just lore, that like if you weren't a Star Wars fan, how would you have ever known that? Like,
exactly.
There are movie goes, they never explained it by any means. Yeah. They also never really explained the prophecy ever.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're just like going off what we think it is. And that's why there's so many debates on like what it is. because like it was just like open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Which I know prophecies are, but like it's not like Harry Potter where the prophecy is brought up over and over and over again. Like
Professor Trelawney goes into her trance and recites it line by line.
Say
word
what
for word.
Say what you want about soap operas, but the acting, the writing, even the crazy ass plots, 10 times better than this. This was an attempt to make a soap opera in space, and it was missing the real drama, the hanging on every word, gasping for, and he did like I want to know what happened, because the first 3 movies are so fucking good. Not the prequels, the original movies.
I feel like it's a simpler story. That's maybe why. I feel like he was trying to do too much with these.
And probably like when he made the originals, like shoestring budget, like we're using trash as props and stuff. Like I think like he was a legend in his own mind by this point of like, I can do whatever, I can ask for whatever budget. I'm just gonna shove all of this shit in this movie and it's gonna be awesome. And then everyone's like, you're wrong.
What I hate the most is that we rewarded him for this mediocrity. And when I say mediocrity, I don't mean the visuals, because visually, even today, like the effects still hold up. The costumes, the makeup, everything. It's a beautiful movie visually, but absolutely rewarded for mediocrity from a plot. Like 3 movies. And I know there's people who love this, and I would challenge them 100%. This is the hill I will die on, because I know it's a kids movie, but as an adult, you cannot tell me this is quality. This prequel should have been one movie.
I think it's like I said, like it's just the assumption of the story. It's a lot of like what it symbolizes, what you know beforehand, that like fills the gaps that make Revenge of the Sith like, oh, it's Revenge of the Sith, you know? Like it's just like, even with Anakin's story, like it's really lacking, but because we know what we know, we're able to fill those gaps for the story that he wasn't able. Like the prophecy, for example, why Palpatine needed him. Like none of this was said in the movie, but like we filled in those gaps. So like you're right, it's not quality by itself by any means.
I almost gave him a pass because I'm like, well, if he shot them all at the same time, like that would make sense that like, oh, they're already done. But he didn't. I just looked and Googled it. No, he like shot them in sequence.
They were very close to each other, but he still had time.
Time to pivot.
A lot of pivoting.
Regroup a bit.
Let's take notes. Let's do some focus groups and see what worked, what didn't for the next episode. No, none of that was done.
Because he could pull on so much other classic stories. Like the bones were there. I really feel like seeing Anakin fall, look, it just doesn't, it's like he goes so sporadic so quickly, and so there's no real motivation for him. Like he literally turns to the dark side in like 2 seconds. He watches this man that has been one of his mentors and part of what he's been in this religion believing. Like he needed something more to have a fall from grace when you fall out of religion, like, and to even watch what that happens, to see him kind of be like, have questioning that. And that's what would have happened in the second one. And I think the biggest motivation for that would have been the fact that it could have been like a Romeo and Juliet situation where they really do find out about him and Padme and they try to separate them. They break up. Like that's where the angst would have been.
Yeah.
They want to take the children, like something that would have made him turn.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah.
Not a dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, psychologically valid because he's got a lot of trauma.
And they also wanted to be like, they didn't want the Jedi to actually look that. That's the other thing. Like, there's a lot of like no action. It's again, it's supposed to be the tragedy of like nothing actually happened. Anakin just like made it all up, and that's why he's the actual bad guy. Like Anakin had one dream, and then he just like jumped to conclusions and then turned. The Jedi could never actually do anything because then they would show that the Jedi are bad. Anakin was right, but Anakin was never right, and they have to show that like Anakin, nothing actually happened. So that's the other thing. Like he also wanted to have the theme of like, well, nothing actually happened. It was all Anakin's fault. So like, that's another reason why there's nothing that, again, we have to assume all that about the character and understand it because unfortunately the dialogue and the acting wasn't there. So.
And those are the best villains. The best villains
Yeah.
are the ones that you can be an apologist for because even though what they did was horrific, you understand. Voldemort, like knowing his family and all the dynamics behind that, you see how you understand why he takes a path. You know it's wrong. I'm not apologizing for him, but you get it, right? Taylor Vaughn, you get it.
And like I think it's because like Anakin's not supposed to be a good villain. He's just supposed to be like it's supposed to be a tragedy about how like the guy messed up his own life.
But Darth Vader is one of the best. That's what's so crazy.
I think that's the other thing. The disconnect between Anakin versus Darth Vader is very prevalent to the point that people separate them as characters when it's like, well, they're supposed to be the same person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually why the fandom is so problematic, I think. Because like there's so much to assume about these characters.
We're all making our own. It's like choose your own adventure. That's what this
movie
was.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts is like when Yoda kind of finds out about everything, they animated Yoda literally clutching his pearls as he's like, I'm like, they did not just do that, but they did. And then he goes into like fighting mode. And I'm like, okay, so we're fighting Palpatine for what? Because you have to go into hiding at this point. Like the Jedi Order has fallen.
Just because it's a cool scene.
Yeah.
And he's fighting him because it's his last chance. He knows there's a prophecy, whatever. He knew going in there's a 50% chance of him actually beating him. It's not that even Palpatine went, like it was such an odd fight. It's a good fight, but it was odd. And I think the scene of it being shown live streaming would have actually been really cool because it would.
I really wish we would have done that. That would have been really awesome.
But when he gets to his little cool ass ship, I don't know what you call that, Hershey Kiss, that he got into, he was like, I didn't get it done.
Yeah.
Well, so I asked Ken about that because I'm like, they made a big deal of like he loses his little like smock thing that has his lightsaber and they like zoom in on it. I'm like, okay, number one, what happened to Yoda's lightsaber? Like, where is it? It has to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Because we even have like, that's how Rey gets Anakin's lightsaber. Is it Anakin? No, Luke's lightsaber, right? Which is Anakin's. Sorry. Yeah. Is because they go to, what's that little lady with the Maz? And she has it. I'm like, where is Anakin's lightsaber? It's not lost forever. Did a janitor find it?
Yeah. It'll probably come up in a side project later on.
Yeah, because it's in his little smock that he loses, and then he's running through the air vents in his jammies until Jimmy Smith shows up.
When he's in the air vent and he's calling his girlfriend or his mom, you gotta come pick me up from school.
I fucked up. I lost.
I fucked up.
I don't like you here. Pick me up.
I fucked up real bad.
But Ken said he essentially has to, like, it makes sense that he doesn't have his lightsaber because he can't use it anymore because it would be like a beacon, because then Darth Vader could sense where he is in the galaxy. And so he has to give up the Force entirely and just live in seclusion on Dagobah.
Yeah.
So is it implied that Darth Vader gets stronger because he's so angry and he's dipped into the dark side? Because before he wasn't like, it's not like he was this prodigy.
Essentially, that whole like killing spree that Anakin goes on is basically him getting stronger. It's like the implication.
The way not the younglings. Yeah. So
that whole thing, it's getting him power. He's like feeding off that
kids. That main kid who speaks, he did a video I saw on Instagram, and he was talking about like how he got that role and stuff. So that was really cool. So much good Star Wars content. I had more fun watching all the content I'm seeing on TikTok and Instagram than seeing this movie again yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing about Star Wars is that like I said this too about like when I was watching the OG trilogy. I'm just like, I feel like the fanfare makes the movies better
Yeah.
than the actual movies. As someone who watched it after seeing all the fanfare first, you know? So like with the prequels, with the OG, with the sequels even too, I'm just like, I feel like the bare bones of the movie, it's good, but it's like it's not as good as like the marketing has been.
One of my notes is so sweaty on Mustafar. It was fucking hot.
It was.
It was the dumbest place to have this interaction take place.
Yeah.
Like,
Who
number
else was
one,
gonna lose his legs?
It could have been like one of those doors that fell on
Well,
him,
technically it
or
was Obi-Wan, right? Because Anakin was so dumb that he didn't realize the high ground and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I have to laugh. He's such an idiot. He's the dumbest person ever.
I don't. I
on
just
this
think
floating barge in a lava field. And also, what are we mining on Mustafar?
Oh, lava. Obviously, like,
Well,
clearly,
George
because
Lucas
there's a
said
need for lava.
George Lucas said this was his idea of what hell will look like.
Yeah.
So
It looked
okay.
real cool, guys. It looked
Well, because it
so
was
cool. You have
shot,
to admit, it
some
was a
of it
really
was
cool
shot
fight.
in a real volcano. Mount Etna in Italy, which was erupting at the time of production.
Interesting.
He could do all that, but he couldn't write better dialogue.
I truly believe with my full heart that you can take the scene from America's Top Model with Tyra Banks saying we were all rooting for you and change it out with Obi-Wan's speech.
This is that phase.
Yes, 100%.
I also wrote the acting didn't start until we got to Mustafar.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the movie for me is that beginning sequence. Padmé's pregnant, that dream. Really bad dialogue, like monologuing. Obi-Wan fighting Grievous and then this fight. Like, that's how I remember this movie. I have just like pieced it together to be like, yeah, there's some stuff in between, but it's Mustafar. That's like literally all that stands out. And the only time I actually pay attention when I'm watching the movie is this part.
I was so bored after a while. I was like, mostly I was just like, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Did y'all catch that homage to Neo that Yoda does while he's fighting Palpatine? Where he's literally like,
yeah.
Like, really, George? Putting in a Matrix reference? Cool.
Well, he did copy all of Dune, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the other thing. Like, he didn't really make this up. He had source material, so he could have like
honestly
done something, you know? Like,
but I think that is the core.
Yeah,
that is the core of the fantasy genre.
Yeah.
When you look at Tolkien, when you look at C.S. Lewis,
it's the hero's journey, right? Like, this is it. Yeah.
They've totally pulled from that. And then in Harry Potter, she fucking stole that from, what is it, The Worst Witch or whatever movie, that book series, like clear. And she pulled from Tolkien and C.S. Lewis.
It's like, I think you guys have probably seen this TikTok too, like that whole, like, there's only like 27 storylines that a movie can ever do. I took a fantasy course in college and we studied Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. I'm pretty sure we studied Dune, not Star Wars. And it was just like, when the fantasy and sci-fi genre, there's like 3 storylines they can do. And when there's a chosen one, it's one. And it's this one.
when Jack, the class Jackie and I met, our English class, we had a teacher, Mr. Chandler, and he talked about this the first Star Wars series and how it's obviously the hero's journey and mostly Jesus and Buddha.
It's Jesus,
which Jesus is Buddha as well. They both have those trials and tribulations.
It's so funny because, like, I don't know if you guys saw the most recent season of The White Lotus, but someone was comparing one of like the kids to the Buddhist journey, and I'm just like, because, like, you know, there was like themes of Buddhism because they're in Thailand. But yeah, like, essentially it's a very universal theme. So of course he pulled it in this storyline too.
Yeah.
That like, I know you were saying that you hadn't seen Sinners yet, but one of the things I did find interesting that someone said, and I was telling in our group chat with our friend Nick, that what was cool about the movie was that it was most likely Ryan Coogler instead of like Western
Eastern
storytelling.
media.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that.
And it was really, really cool because so much, and I think this is why I really love a lot of Eastern media because it gives me anxiety that there's always like conflict in the sense that like that is what pulls the storytelling forward instead of like even with rom-coms, why is there always that like in the middle they're they have like a falling out
Yeah, or
or there's
miscommunication, or
right
yeah.
or a mean girl, like
Yeah.
something that breaks them apart versus like the the different elements in Eastern
And
video.
it's so funny that you brought up that like that it stresses you out because I remember like so there's like a shift in Bollywood media too, where like there was an external force being the conflict, and eventually they pulled like an Encanto where the internal forces was the conflict, like family relationships are the problem, like parents
Right.
are the problem, and this is when they leaned, and this is like the new net. This is like what made new Bollywood movies. Like now, this is what how people imagine Bollywood. It's like the Shah Rukh Khan, the rom-com that we see all the time, the yearning, because now that's the storyline that we follow, which is like the conflict exists in ourselves. So it's
Mm.
really funny how like Eastern media had to even understand that and like transition into that. And it's like it's really cool that Western media is doing it now. But
Yeah.
you know, it's taken a while. But it's so funny that you said it stresses you out because I remember even as a child, I'm like, I hate this. Like I don't
Yeah.
like these movies. I don't
Yeah.
like I'm sick of this grandpa. Like it was like that media. And then when it changed, I felt like it changed. That they knew how to tell better stories because of it.
Yeah. Because I don't think it's always, you know, that we're fighting with each other or some misunderstanding, like stupid
Yeah.
shit, you know, but that is life. That miscommunication happens a lot. But like all of our stories are like that. And it just feels like, yes, there's comfort in having some sort of rubric that we know. But I think that's what makes some of the best movies is that when it completely goes off, like everything all at once. I know that was a lot for some people, but it was cool because it wasn't, it was telling a really good story, but it wasn't in the same step one, step two, step three, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
The
we need
formula.
that more than ever now because I'm
Yeah.
tired.
And like when I think about Revenge of the Sith, I feel like that's what it's at its core. Like a story about a boy who like is like so desperate for love that causes his own problems is a good story and set in the line of like political rise of dictatorships and what that leads to. Like at the bare bones is fine, but like there was just so much accessory. Had George Lucas gotten a good better writer, he could have like actually executed this so much better.
Was a TikTok I sent you that girl was like, I'm tired of these fucking movies
Yeah.
where it's like the
Like
go ahead.
it was like the white boy doesn't get something
Yes.
and we get upset about it. Like it was like
Right.
so well said.
Which is this movie? He doesn't get what he wants, so he makes it everyone else's problem.
Mhm.
And that is like the source of 90% of the movies we
But make it
see.
space. Literally, like this, that's why it's so funny because like when people get so upset about it, I'm like, it's just wizards in space and a whiny boy. Like,
Yeah.
like literally, that's the movie.
Right.
Like space wizards and the emo boy or like incel emo boy.
Once Anakin caught on fire and Obi-Wan just seemingly walks away, I'm like, you have just said this man is your brother, and now you're watching him light on fire, and you're just like, okay, buddy.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
the like humane thing to do would to be just like literally
End
kill
it.
him?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
this
Yeah.
would have been the end of this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the same girl who didn't know the Taco Bell dog was audibly sniffling by this point and continued to sob through the
She
rest
was
of the movie.
crying?
Yes.
He's supposed to be sad. It's supposed to be. I didn't cry during that time. I cried when Anakin was crying about Padme. I was like, okay, that's actually well done. That was a really beautiful scene.
When did he
This
cry
was
about
supposed to
Padme?
be-
When he was in Darth Vader's suit?
No. Like, there's a scene in the middle. I feel like this is like this is the scene where Anakin's not talking at all, but he is about to make the
Oh, that
decision
single
to
tear.
that single tear, and he's like
Yeah.
looking at the sunset, deciding that he's about to betray the Jedi. Essentially, no dialogue. It's like there's no dialogue. It's just music. It's just Anakin and Padme just like staring. And I'm just like, it conveys so much. I'm just like, that was sad. I'm like, I feel like if the movie was more that.
Oh, okay. That scene, let's talk about it. Why is like it did not hit me that way. I was like, there's so much silence. I know what Anakin's looking at, but what the fuck is she looking
Oh,
at?
I don't know about that part.
Because she has no Jedi, like she's not sensing that Anakin,
Right.
like she has no.
It's their love. That's what she's.
Well,
But
let's
her
talk
love-
about
My
that.
brain stopped working whenever I realized that they don't know that Palpatine's the bad guy. Like, I'm just like, it's so obvious that Palpatine is the bad guy. If you guys aren't going to see it, I'm turning my brain off. Like,
So
bye.
at the end, they have to deliver the babies early,
Oh yeah.
and then just Padme dies for no reason. I know it's supposed to be of a broken heart. She dies for no fucking reason. She's just like, not worth
Yeah, to freeze
living.
her.
Which is to me like so insane because nothing would have fueled my fire more than this motherfucker choking me out, trying to hurt me. And where's that mama bear situation
Yes.
happening?
Mhm.
Because, oh, bitch, I'm gonna live and I'm going to be the person leading the resistance
Yes.
Yeah. And
against
that
your
would have been
bitch
more on
ass.
character for her, for the character we had
Yes.
developed. But like, they literally watered her down to be something else.
And they're like, yeah, she's dying. And Obi-Wan and Yoda are like, whoa.
And we're like, who knows? She loves him.
They're like, he just
But
choked
Daddy,
her a
I
little
love
bit.
him.
Right.
She died of a broken heart.
That's crazy.
I thought she died of complications. Like, that's like when I first watched it, I was like, oh, I didn't think it was a broken heart. I was like, oh, like something went wrong with the pregnancy. I just assumed it was that.
And I
Yeah.
love how them babies slip slided out so quick, and she was like,
Full
Luke,
term.
Leia.
Full term.
Full term. And then they bury her with a fake baby bump so that they can send the babies off to
Well,
Uncle Owen and the senator.
I don't think it's fake because when you have the baby, your bump doesn't go down right away.
Well, probably, but also they need to make it seem like the kids
They make
died
it seem like the
too.
kids aren't alive. To like,
Right.
even though Anakin can sense them because of the Force.
Yeah.
Well,
So that
maybe
makes no sense. Yeah.
maybe it doesn't make sense to them because
They think Anakin's dead.
no, I don't think they've been in a situation like this. Jedis are not supposed to be procreating.
Oh, true. I totally forgot about that part.
So they probably didn't really even think about it
Yeah.
in that way.
That's the other issue too. Like, the movie kind of ends on this, like, do you think Anakin's dead? He's come back to Darth Vader. Now they have the babies. Like, it's just like, it's a very messy ending too.
Yeah, and did Obi-Wan call first? They seemed ready for him, so on the baby when he went out to the desert.
I don't know.
And
For them not knowing that they were ever in an entanglement, like, they were very prepared.
it's also crazy that whole time Obi-Wan was so close to where Luke was. Why wasn't he like secretly training him all this time?
He was
'cause-
keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, and Uncle Owen didn't want him to.
Yeah.
Oh,
Again, but we don't know this until the new series Kenobi came out, and that's how we find out. That's the other issue with Star Wars in this movie, is that like everything is explained to us later in a different series that comes out 20 years later.
I know,
And then it makes sense.
I know for a lot of people the books definitely give some explanation too,
Mhm.
but
Yeah. But you shouldn't have to read a book to understand a movie, right?
yeah, that's true.
My favorite thing that was an actual thread that was continued in Rise of Skywalker is that the last scene with Palpatine, he's on Exegol, which is like the lightning planet, which is where his whole saga ends, is on Exegol. So he starts his Palpatine as like the leaders of the, why can't I think of
The
I actually
Separatists?
never finished Rise of Skywalker, so you could say anything and I believe you. They lost me when Palpatine is back. I was like, I'm out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was really dumb. Like,
Yeah.
he shouldn't have been related to any of them.
Yeah.
Again,
They had-
like, because they're not supposed to be procreating.
Well, the Sith can do whatever the fuck they want.
That's true.
Yeah.
But like
I just want to point out that being a Sith is so hard work. Like, for like being a Jedi, it's like fine, like don't have attachments, you have the Force. But to be a Sith, you literally have to like go out of your way to do all this work. I didn't realize. Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why would anyone do that? Like, it's so much work.
Oh, so the Empire, like once he rises to like essentially rule the galaxy, like he's on Exegol, and then at the end when he's defeated by Rey and Kylo, it is also on Exegol. So I like that it's tied up on that same planet.
what I love about these movies is that these movies are all about the sins of the father, the lacking of father, and father wounds and issues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every single thing
Every single one. Yeah.
could be directly back to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Anakin fucking up.
Yep.
As a father, essentially.
Well, yeah, he had no father. So
he had no
lack
father.
of a father figure for him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then, you know, if we talk about epigenetics, essentially, then you've got Luke, who he had a pretty good father figure. So it's not like he does have a father wound with the whole situation with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then he makes the mistake of not really learning from the past of his father to see some of the signs in his nephew and really fucks up there. Also, Obi-Wan, he's not a father, but he's a father-like figure, and he fucks up. Palpatine is a horrible grandfather. And then Han Solo, I hate to say it, I love my boy, but he was a shitty dad.
Mm-hmm.
Shitty dad. Leia tried her best, but you can't turn a hoe into a houseman.
Yeah.
He's still
Which like this little like at the core of it, Star Wars is a very simple story about like father issues essentially. So
yeah, which I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm sure if I look it up, George Lucas got daddy issues.
No, what? I think that's why everyone kind of hates like the Acolyte, because the Acolyte is essentially supposed to be like this parallel to like Anakin's story, but that was a healthy mother issue. Like they had mother issues, but it was also really healthy in their relationships, and it was kind of showing that like, okay, well, like people that are stable can also go to the dark side, and it's like, whoa, that's really interesting, you know, like versus what would turn them into the dark side, you know? So
I think it's
God
crazy.
expand the lore. Sorry. I will never bring up the Acolyte.
No. What I think is crazy is that people complain about the script and the story, and I'm just like, how can you?
They've never met a woman. That's why. They're like, she was all over the place. No one's that emotional. I'm like, have you ever what?
Have you met a man? Because I've never met a more emotional creature in my life.
Like she met, like it was like, oh, she met her sister, so she didn't want to commit revenge again. I'm like, yeah, it's that easy. Like, oh, I want to avenge my sister's alive. I'm good. That's how like, simple it is.
It's weird because like to be human is to be emotional, and it just bothers me that people complain about that. Both men and women are emotional.
That's the point of Star Wars, is that like Anakin was too emotional.
Right, he couldn't regulate his system.
So one of my favorite things about the Sith is the fact that they're just like so extra. Like I love how extra they are, and I'm like, that's the point. Like he's so extra, he's too much, and like it just shows that like they're a whole race of people that are too much, doing the most, are the bad guys.
Well, they always say a villain, you're never gonna catch a villain slipping. They're always on top of their shit.
Yeah.
They're not late.
Skywalker.
They're good to go.
That is Star Wars Revenge of this.
Let me just give a visual real quick.
Okay. And that caps off the
and that's the close of the chapter, y'all.
Anakin was doing the most. That actually is a great way to explain the movie.
The end.
The end. All right, let's see if we have any fun facts that we missed.
Well,
can you imagine that George Lucas said, I think this could be 4 hours? Because originally the cut of this movie ran nearly 4 hours. The opening battle, Palpatine rescue alone ran over an hour. The extra footage of the Palpatine rescue scene is shown in the video game for this movie. So,
there was extra footage. I will say I'm not a fan of cutting movies in half, but I do think this movie could have been cut in half.
So many parts
many
could
parts.
be cut. Yeah. What else you got?
So the sound of General Grievous's coughing that you love so much, Danielle, was George Lucas's own coughing. After developing a bad cough during production, he had it recorded and used as Grievous's own cough with an electronic filter on it.
Why?
It was wet.
I don't know if he needed a spray of some WD-40 or what, but it was very aggravating. I said out loud, why is this thing coughing?
Yeah, he should get that checked. I think like an inhaled corticosteroid.
If you're a living being with like lungs and stuff, like we should be able to treat this.
Why would he want that recorded? I don't understand. Like, what does that add to his character? Like, why did he do this? This is the confusing part. Like, you added this guy, this evil villain who's a side character that doesn't even matter, a cough, but you didn't explain a prophecy or why Palpatine needed
it
apprentice.
Just aggravated me because I said, why is he coughing? And is he
a droid?
Is he a droid or is he real? Is he a droid or is he real? I need to know. A 10-year-old Han Solo was going to appear during the Battle of Kashyyyk as an orphan being raised by Chewbacca. He would have helped locate General Grievous by finding part of a transmitter droid that was sending signals from Yutapao? I don't know. Allowing Obi-Wan to find and confront him. Solo's young adult years were later depicted in that movie, set between 12 and 9 years after this movie.
I love that story way more than anything we got in Solo.
Yeah, that would have been cute. That could have been enough. They didn't have to do a whole movie.
Instead of him just happening upon Chewbacca captured in a pit.
I hate that.
Apparently, Ewan McGregor asked if he could also play one of the Emperor's red-robed Imperial Guards. However, it is not known whether he did or not.
My favorite fact out of this whole thing is that there is a total number of 40 screen wipes. Let me tell you, the PowerPoint was PowerPointing in this fucking movie with the transitions. That's all I got to say.
I kind of appreciate that, like, it was cheesy when he did it in the 70s, and he's like, we're riding this till the end.
Yeah.
Screen wipes forever.
Oh,
yeah.
George Lucas deliberately made the Darth Vader suit top-heavy to make Hayden Christensen not appear too accustomed to it in the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, that hey.
Man.
Okay, yeah. This is like adding a cough, but okay.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen trained for 2 months in fencing and fitness in preparation for their epic battle. As a result of their practice, the speed at which Kenobi and Vader engaged the duel in the completed movie is the speed in which it was filmed and not digitally accelerated. I think that was a really good scene, and you could tell it's them because, like, you could see it's their faces, which was really cool.
So apparently, in Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, Jar Jar admits to being the Phantom Menace the whole time, and that he was actually a Sith, which I really love.
I've seen that too, actually. It's really funny.
Yeah. According to Ahmed Best, there was a deleted scene where before he crowned himself Emperor, Palpatine mockingly thanked Jar Jar Binks for granting him the emergency powers that allowed him to take over the galaxy. It's all Jar Jar's fault. The entire empire.
I have like a fun fact, actually, that I just know because of being obsessed with Hayden Christensen. Hayden made up a move in the lightsaber fighting. He, like the little double flip he does, Hayden Christensen just made that up.
Okay. Did you guys see him do the surprise screenings
Yeah.
with well, Jackie saw because she sent it to me, but with Samuel Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
And he said his character is alive. Mace lives, I think he said at the screening. Which, okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
That is
I have to
wild.
say, Samuel L. Jackson's hatred towards Anakin is one of my favorite things about this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so funny.
Like, every time he walks on screen or into a room, he's just like, this kid again.
Like, whenever he figures out that Palpatine's bad, he goes to Mace. And Mace is like, whatever. Like,
right.
I'll deal with it. Thank you. No. Like,
well, since both of you guys were talking about hot costumes, did you know that the Wookiees' costumes from this film had a arterial system that pumped ice cold water to help cool them down while wearing the suit?
I love that for them.
that's really cool. That is
Very
actually
smart.
Cool.
And lastly, Ian McDiarmid recorded his scenes in the opera box on Coruscant, I don't know, while suffering with a case of laryngitis. So everybody was sick.
No, like, what was going on in that set?
Yeah.
It's a ventilation system, like.
Well, before we get into our ratings, Maria, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, under Mario Watches Everything. I go deep dives into shows and movies, and yeah, I love Anakin Skywalker.
And we will make sure that in the show notes, we have all the links to Maria's socials, as well as the episodes that Maria has been on with us so far.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Thank you for keep having me. Like,
We love it.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I love being here. I don't know if I help, but like, I love being here.
You help explain some things, that's for
You
sure.
Did I just defend it?
You didn't do as much apologizing as one
Listen,
could
I'm
have.
the
Previous
problem.
episode.
I
Yeah.
will admit that I'm the problem for loving this man, but I love this man. I can't help it. I
And
would have gone
loving-
bad with him. My biggest complaint is that Padmé didn't turn with him. If she loved him so much, why
Yeah.
wouldn't she be like, bet, I will follow you?
We'll rule it together.
I feel like it would just make so much sense,
Control.
especially in her character too. I just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you disagree or agree or have hot takes about anything we've discussed, and gosh darn it, we are waiting for someone to mansplain all of this to us, hit us up at No More Late Fees on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Threads, and Blue Sky. And also, if you've made it all the way here, shout out to some of our new listeners. Thank you so much for supporting us.
Hey. Welcome.
And let's get into present day ratings. We'll start with you, Maria.
So I do rewatch it a lot. I can't help it. It's the last scene, so I will say I will rewatch it.
So
Of the movies, this is one of my favorites. I can't help it. 5-day rental.
Okay.
I don't know if I can buy it.
Jackie?
I did not fall asleep in the theater this time. I made it all the way through. And I need to retract a previous statement where I said this is the worst one, because it is not. Attack of the Clones was way worse than this one.
Mhm.
And I will be watching it
100%.
at least one more time because Ken was sad that he didn't get to watch it with me. So I will go 2-day.
That's
Makes sense, logic. Mhm.
that's real love right there. It's the same day. I will avoid having to watch any of these prequels ever again if I can help it, till the days are long and gone.
Fair.
Valid.
Yeah.
Well, if you have anything to add to the conversation, please hit us up at our quick drop, 909-601-6653. Twat us at the Twitters, hem us at the Threads, butterfly in the sky at Blue Skies, and you could be featured on a future episode.
And join us next week as we honor a legend, an icon, and the most covered man on this podcast, Matthew Lillard. We're kicking off Lillard Mayhem with Serial Mom next week.
We
It's not to be
get
missed.
the rest of May with Matthew.
Only Lillard?
Yes.
That's good.
And we're doing some
I can't
deep
wait.
dives too.
Oh, I
We're
believe
not,
it.
we're not going like,
Scream.
yeah, we're not going Scooby-Doo.
Mainly because we've done most of
Yeah, it's true. definitely stay tuned. I am so excited to continue our Matthew Lillard love fest. And Maria, thank you as always for coming and just being unapologetically an Anakin apologist.
Always, always. Until I would have to say otherwise with these new population of people who love him for the wrong reason.
And as always, happy May the 4th be with you, and be kind and rewind.